Video 575, simulating the distribution of a sample mean. So we'll start in main and head down to the keyboard and then down to the catalog of functions and across to those beginning with R, where we see rand and so on. So let's just have a look at what these fellas do. So if we start off with rand and tap execute, we get a random number somewhere between 0 and 1. If we used rand list and maybe follow it with a 2 and tap execute, we get two random numbers between 0 and 1. Something that's quite handy is to put in front of rand list under the functions beginning with F. There is an F rand. Here it is. So if I input an F rand list, now I need to shut the brackets on my random list with two numbers, and then put a comma, and suppose I wanted to round it to maybe 2 decimal places, then and tap execute, you can see now I've generated two random numbers between 0 and 1, and they've been rounded to 2 decimal places. The sort of thing that if we were measuring maybe lengths in centimeters, we could do. Now, suppose we wanted random numbers between 20 and 30. Then what we can do is adjust our random list by, first of all, multiplying it by 10. So we'll put a 10 multiplied in front. But then also, if we add 20, then we know that rand list is going to produce numbers between 0 and 1. Oh, what happened here? Let's just get rid of that. Backspace, my plus sign should be in there. So let's... this rand list is going to generate numbers between 0 and 1. So by multiplying them by 10, we're going to get random numbers between 0 and 10. And then adding 20 to them will make sure those numbers are somewhere between 20 and 30. And let's get 3 of them this time and see how it goes. So we'll tap execute. Oh, that was rounding it to 3 decimal places. Okay, let's keep track of what's going on here. So in here, if we change that fellow to a 3, that's better. We've got 3 random numbers rounded to 2 decimal places, somewhere between 20 and 30. Whew. So we can now do those calculations. Now let's get a few more numbers. Suppose we wanted to get 25 numbers this time. So and we'll round them to 1 decimal place. I think that'll be accurate enough for what we're up to. So we'll tap execute. There they are. How do we calculate the mean? Well, we'll tap off to the functions beginning with M, and we'll find the mean. And I'll tap input and execute. So there we go. The mean of those 25 numbers was 26. Now, to put the whole thing together, what I'm going to do is copy this line where we generated 25 random numbers rounded to 1 decimal place, and put it after the mean and tap execute. So we just have basically taken a sample of 25 random numbers from a uniform distribution and calculated their mean. So we've got a sample mean at last. Here it is, 24.844. Now with the cursor on the next line, I'll just get rid of the keyboard for a minute. Every time we tap execute, ClassPad repeats the instructions. So here we got a mean of 24.8 and here we've got a sample mean of 25.28. Let's do it again. And this time it's slightly larger again. So we're getting these different samples means, and we're interested in the distribution of these numbers. So the best place to look at that is in a spreadsheet. Before we go there though, let's just get a few figures. Now we know that the mean of a uniform distribution is the midpoint of the ends. So if it's between 20 and 30, we'd expect a mean of 25. The standard deviation, the formula to calculate this is, now I'll just I'll use the shift key. Shift divide to set up a fraction. It's the upper boundary 30 minus the lower boundary, which was 20, divided by 2 root 3. So 2 and then a shift power to get the root symbol 3 up. So our expected standard deviation of this distribution is 2.8. Now sampling theory says that if we divide this one by the square root of 25, so which we know is 5, then the expected standard deviation of our sampling distribution will be 0.577. Well, let's go have a look. So we'll take the main line that's doing all the work here. We'll take a copy of it, edit copy, and I'm going to head off now, hit the menu and into spreadsheet. So we're in spreadsheet. The first thing is to put a formula in here. We'll start with an equals, and then we'll use edit paste to put our formula in that's going to take our random sample of 25, size 25, and tap execute. It's done. Now we'll use the fill range to select this down. So once we're on the formula in cell A1, we can tap onto edit, fill range, and say that we want to copy this from A1. And up here in the top row, you'll see there's the colon to say from A1 to A, and I'll use the numbers 50 and say OK. So a little bit of a pause, but ClassPad managed it. Here is a whole load of sample means. To calculate the mean of these sample means, let's tap into cell B1 and we'll use the calc list statistics mean function. We just need to say at the bottom of the line here that we want the mean of the numbers from cell A1 to A50. So here we go, A1 to A50. And hit execute, or the tick here. And let's get the standard deviation while we're at it. So calc, list statistics, standard deviation, and again put in the range A1 to A50. And this time we'll tap on the tick. So, and remember we expected it to be around 0.5 and the mean of our samples to be the halfway between 20 and 30. So they're not too far out. Let's look at what distribution we've got though for these 50 numbers. So I just selected the column by tapping on the A heading. We're going to graph, histogram, and whoa, look at that, an almost perfect normal distribution, which the central limit theorem predicts. So there we go. Now, if we don't believe it's always going to be that good, and this is fairly unusual to get such a nice looking one, let's tap into the upstairs window and use File, Recalculate. So ClassPad recalculates again and comes up with another one. Let's try it again. File, Recalculate. Now on my computer this is taking a few seconds. You might find it's taking 20 to 30 seconds on a handheld. But you can see the mean and the standard deviation are staying around the values we expected. Our histogram is looking fairly normal. A little tip, if you wanted to change the look of this histogram, we can tap into the histogram window and move up to calc, bin width, and here we can actually adjust how many different intervals we get. So maybe we could choose to start at 23 and go in steps of 0.25. Let's see what that looks like. Okay. Not so good. Maybe we were better off with ClassPads. Anyway, we can roll the dice again. File, recalculate. And we get a different histogram again. Anyway, we've looked at sampling. Now you can see we sampled from a uniform distribution, but there's a couple of other help sheets. Videos 82 and 85 will show you how to do exactly the same thing, only starting off either maybe with a background normal distribution or a binomial.